What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla SPY and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar, some other important factors from the markets, and how things are looking, in my personal opinion, going into tomorrow and beyond. Before I begin the doubles information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. And deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 free stocks. And the offer ends very soon in just 2 days. Anyways, for the market right now, you're seeing Tesla approaching this V-shaped recovery. Technicals are looking a bit more bullish as we're continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. But Tesla does have this important resistance approaching at this 175 area. So we'll have to see if Tesla could break that or not. But right now, as Tesla and the markets are trying to rebound, we have some tight resistance levels we're going to be testing from 510 on SPY, not to mention the 433 area on the QQQ. So I'll be breaking down more details about this over the next couple of minutes. But I first want to quickly talk about some data, some news about Tesla and what's going on in my personal opinion. So as a reminder, tomorrow is going to be Monday, April 29th, 2024. The reason why that's going to be very important is because we have some data coming out. We have the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index coming out at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 hour after the market ends up opening. And then at 11:30 a.m., we have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out. That's going to be very important too. So we'll see what this causes for us moving forward. Going into Tuesday, we have a couple of other things coming out. We just have some employment numbers and such. On Wednesday, we also have the JOLTS job openings report coming out. Not the craziest of data, but what's going to be even more crazy will be this right here. We have the FOMC meeting coming out on Wednesday. We have Jerome Powell giving a speech. So keep that on your calendars, guys. Keep this in the back of your minds. On Wednesday, May 1st, we have Jerome Powell giving a speech. All right, so that's going to be important. We have the FOMC meeting too. So that's going to have a big effect on the whole market and how things move. But for now, we're just going to focus on Monday. So just look at this data for the time being, and we'll focus on Wednesday when the time comes. So very minor data for the first 1 and 2 hours of the day, at least since the market opens. And then we'll see what happens with that data. It might cause some volatility here and there. Now, for earnings, just as a reminder, this is what the earnings calendar looks like for the week. On Tuesday, we have PayPal and Amazon, AMD, and a few others. On Thursday, we have like Apple, Coinbase, DraftKings, and a few others as well. Those are the two most important days for earnings. But for tomorrow specifically, we just have SoFi, Domino's Pizza, and just a few others. Not to mention Paramount and Transocean after the market closes. So I'll be talking about this for Monday. Earnings are very minor for Monday alongside the data, so it's not going to affect the market as much, but things become a lot more serious starting on Tuesday. So for the fear and greed index, right now things are fearful. They're getting very close to neutral. And if the market ends up breaking some key resistance levels, we could see the market become more neutral, at least for the time being. Market momentum currently is at neutral, so we're starting to see a little shift right over here. And we'll have to see what happens from here as we're trying to balance, at least for the time being, as we manage to push past some key support. On top of this, the puts and call positioning right now is quite fearful. We're actually becoming less fearful than before. The reason for this is because we're seeing more puts being closed. We're still continuing to see a little shift right now in sentiment, and people are starting to go long right now. But be careful, guys. Things could change depending on what happens with Jerome Powell and the big earnings. Market volatility is also kind of neutral right now as we're approaching the 50 daily moving average. That's very important. We'll see if this shifts or not. We're at some key support on the VIX. If the market starts pushing, we do have a gap to fill down below, and that's going to likely get filled. If it's the opposite, if the VIX gets a big bounce, this could be bearish for the market. So we'll just have to wait and see, at least for that. For other things involving the markets, I just want to call out that there's a lot of talk right now about economic growth and some shifts here and there. That's going to be very important. We also have news coming out about Elon Musk. This is now involves Tesla. Elon Musk has ended up flying to China, and he's getting some criticism because some reports are saying that he was supposed to go to India. He delayed the India trip, and now he's going to China instead. But the reason why he's doing this, and this is not really anything that I really criticize him for, I just want to say that I think that it's very important for him to do this because China is a very important market for Tesla, and there was a lot of big news that came out over the last couple of days in China. Basically, a lot of these companies like Xpeng, Li Auto, and BYD, they're getting more and more involved in a new market, which is making EVs a lot more affordable. And now they're working very, very hard to do that. They're pushing for that new market, and they're starting to target different audiences out there. So with that happening, Musk has made a push for the robo taxis, the more affordable Tesla EV, and he's been discussing a lot of things with China, because whether you like it or not, Tesla is still competing with a lot of those Chinese companies, and the majority of Tesla's sales do come from China. You have to remember that it's a massive, massive market. So Elon Musk found it very important for him to actually make an emergency trip there. He was talking about some important changes, and he was meeting with many important officials. He said that Tesla's relationship with a lot of the areas over there are critical for supply chains and such. So that's very, very key. And also, with that happening, he's trying to contend with what's been happening with their sales, right? They've been decreasing for quite some time. So with that happening, there's been a lot of insane things going on, a lot of criticism. It happens, but I think that Musk is doing the right thing. I think that it is very important for him to understand his market, understand what's happening over there, and to know that, look, a lot of these other Chinese companies are getting involved. They're trying to boost their sales. They're now competing with Tesla. They're trying to compete in the price wars that have been going on for quite some time. So it's very, very important that Musk has a good grasp on things, and he knows what to be expecting, at least for the future. So I think that's very key. I really think that it was good that he went. I also want to note that he has not canceled the India trip. I know a lot of people are saying that. That's not canceled. All he did was delay it. You have to remember that. He was supposed to go during the week of earnings to India to meet up with Prime Minister Modi, but he ended up not doing that for the time being because he wants to delay it instead. He had other obligations, but he will be going to India again in the future. He mentioned that in the very, very near term over the next few months. So it's not the end of the world, guys. Don't worry too much about that. Deutsche Bank is saying, hold on to your Tesla shares. Things are not shifting too much. The price price ratio went up a little bit as Tesla is gaining some strength compared to before, which is a good sign. When it comes to seasonality, we have a tendency of seeing green about 53% of the time on Mondays and about 51% of the time on Tuesdays. And we see more volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 1 p.m. and also during the penultimate hour of the day. Don't forget that with all this stuff coming out for Tesla, it's very news dependent. There wasn't a whole lot of news that came out over the weekend, but there was a lot of news that came out on Friday, which caused Tesla to dip with all the investigations going on and the new probes. Tesla had 110 million in volume. That is once again above average, which isn't bad so far. And also, don't forget that the short volume relative to price is going up to about 51%, so it's not bad whatsoever. With that being said, what do I see for the share price of Tesla? What do I think is going to play out from this point on? Looking at the hourly time frame on Tesla, you guys can see that Tesla is once again trying to uptrend right over here. With that happening, I think that this is a pretty decent sign that Tesla still has more potential upside coming, at least in the future. But for the short term, it depends on news and such. So here are some important levels before I break down what I think is going to happen. So for Tesla, we have this support right here at this 168 zone. If we lose this support because of bad news, watch 165. That's going to be a test of our 50 EMA. Losing that would take us all the way down to the 162 area. That's where our 200 EMA is going to be. And losing that would give Tesla a big drop all the way down to 158. So we're going to see a big rug pull if we end up losing, I'd say 165 and then 162. To be bullish, you need to see Tesla try to break through its 4-hour important EMA at 175. If we break that 175 resistance, in my opinion, Tesla could go all the way up to at least 178 and eventually, 182 is coming next. I see potential to try to, I see potential in Tesla try to push up like that, but it's going to depend on different factors. What do I think is going to happen? Here's my personal opinion. So Tesla's starting this miniature downward trend right here. This could be forming like a little sequence. I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla actually grabs liquidity at 168, if not a little bit lower. We could even come down to 165 and then try to bounce. But I think Tesla will bounce back up and try to continue to push up higher. Look for a little dip, possibly in the daytime to 168, if not a little bit lower, before it tries to get that key move to the upside. That's going to be our key Fibonacci retracement area, not to mention our key support based off the confluence at the 50 EMA. So either at 168, maybe a little bit lower at 165 could be tested before it tries to rebound back up to 172. I think that Tesla may maintain a range for some time. But then the much big move will come after FOMC and big tech earnings. So I'll be waiting to see how those things go. For SPY, this thing is gaining some strength on the 4-hour time frame, and also we're trying to uptrend right here. We had this low right here at this 494 area. We kind of bounced a bit, came back down to 497. Now we're trying to rebound one more time. We have this 510 area acting as our resistance. If we break through this, we're easily going to be pushing up towards about 513. Losing 510 would take us all the way down towards 506 to 505, and then eventually lower levels like the 502s. But I see a very, very nice uptrend that's being respected on SPY, and I see more potential for this to go even higher. So with this trying to uptrend, we need confirmation first. We have to try to break past 510. If we break that, 513 is coming to fill our imbalance. So if we break 510, we're bullish. If we lose 505, we're going to be bearish. In my opinion, I think what's going to happen is you might actually retrace a little bit, retest like 507.5 to 508, and then try to rebound. And I think we might be trying to break 510 again, making another attempt tomorrow. And we'll see if it breaks or not. But I think it might dip a bit, then try to bounce back up. And we'll see how it reacts to this resistance. That's going to be a very, very key zone, at least for SPY. So look for a little retracement. We could be retesting our 20 EMA. Then we could try to bounce off that, retest this resistance, and we'll see if this breaks or not. So that's going to be very important, at least for now. For the QQQ, in my opinion, is once again trying to uptrend. We have this support at this 413 area. We pushed all the way up to about this 429 zone. We came down towards 418. Now we're continuing to uptrend. And looking at how Nvidia is pushing, there is potential for this to go even higher towards 433. Now, I think that the QQQ has some tight resistance here because of our 4-hour 200 EMA. Let me just show you what that looks like right over here. But with this resistance being established on the 4-hour time frame, I think that the QQQ is going to struggle a bit right here. Might come back down towards 428 or so, and then try to rebound. So look for a little dip in the pre-market before it tries to push higher, and we'll see if this breaks. If it could break past 433, this could easily start pushing up to 435 plus and eventually 437. But we need to see confirmation first. We have to see if we could try to get that move. So I anticipate a little dip tomorrow morning before it tries to rebound, and we'll give this a little bit more time. For Nvidia is trying to push higher, so I think that there is potential for this to continue to go. I think that it's looking very bullish, especially on our 4-hour time frame. So I think there's a very good chance we could be going for that 900 area, and I think that Nvidia could continue from here. So with that being said, with this uptrend being established right here, 900 is my target on Nvidia. I think we could easily push towards that. And I think that the 4 hour is looking very, very nice on it. I also want to note that we're building a lot more support relative to before. So this is looking like a very, very nice bullish breakout as we broke this resistance. Going to be looking for 900 very soon. For Apple, Apple's also on a very, very nice uptrend, slowly trying to push higher. We're going to be looking at our resistance at 170. Break that, look at 171, then 172.5. For support, watch 169. If we lose that, we're going to be dipping a bit. I anticipate that this is going to uptrend and continue to push, and I think that this could continue from here. So we'll have to see how this ends up going. And I think that there's a very good chance that this will continue to push. So look for this breakout right here. If we break through this, we have this 172.5 area coming. We have this imbalance to fill all the way up here as well. So I really favor that that's going to be tested. So I think there's a good chance of that happening. We'll just have to give this a bit more time. But look for a push on Apple. I think there's a very good chance that that is going to continue to pump. Might retest 169, then try pushing up for at least 170. So look for a push even higher going into tomorrow. With that being said, guys, Tesla is looking pretty good right here with this nice uptrend. I'm very, very happy to see a lot more buyers stepping in. But don't forget that the 4-hour 175 area is going to be a very, very big resistance since our 200 EMA happens to be here. So it could come down a little bit more, retest and grab liquidity down here before we see buyers defend it again. And then we could be trying to push back up towards 172, then eventually higher levels. But I think that Tesla may dip a bit first before it tries to continue higher, and that's a very, very good chance. Now, once again, although Tesla is a very, very strong company and such, it's still going to be heavily dictated by some important stuff coming out. So we'll have to see what the reaction is on Wednesday after Jerome Powell gives his speech, and what reaction we get from these big tech earnings. That's also going to affect Tesla, so just keep that in the back of your mind. But for tomorrow, look for a little dip and bounce. Anyways, that's it for the main tickers I typically talk about. And now let's just talk about a few others. For Palantir, it looks bullish right now. We have support currently at 22.4. If we lose that, look for 21.89. If we continue to push, look for 23. I see potential in Palantir to try to continue to push, and I think that 23 is most likely coming. For Supermicro is trying to push right over here. We're going to be looking for a move up to about 863. And if we break through this, we have this previous support becoming resistance at 880. Breaking through this would take us all the way up to the 930 area. I anticipate that Supermicro is going to be testing resistance at 863. Might come down a little bit and then try pushing higher towards 880 plus and eventually 900. So I see potential in this. For Rivian is once again trying to uptrend right over here. Got a nice double bottom-like structure. Going to be looking for a push towards 9.2, and if that breaks, we're going to be looking for about 9.4. So I see potential in Rivian try to push higher. That is most definitely going to be the case. For SoFi, we're also trying to break out right here. It looks more bullish to me as we got a nice accumulation structure. We have this imbalance on the 4-hour time frame all the way up towards 8.5. So I think that that's most likely going to get filled, and I see more potential in this to push higher. We could dip a bit towards 8 before we try to bounce, but look for a push towards 8.5 over this week. I see potential in SoFi. SoFi also could push depending on its earnings. It looks more bullish from a technical standpoint, but we'll see. Once again, it depends on earnings. I forgot to mention that it's earnings for SoFi, so we'll have to see what happens. But right now, the chart does look a bit more bullish for 8.5. We'll see if earnings help this continue to push, but the chart does look bullish. Don't forget about that, guys. For the IWM, we look a bit more bullish, but we need a little bit of a confirmation break above 199. If that breaks, look for 200, then 201, and eventually 202. If we end up losing 198, look for a dip down towards 197. I favor that the IWM is going to try to break out towards 200 plus, but just to be safe, look for a confirmation break of 199. For AMD, we have resistance currently at 158. If that breaks, we're going to be pushing all the way up towards 159, then 163.5. If we get rejected here, we're coming down to 154.5. The chart does look like it's trying to break, but we need confirmation first. So we'll have to see how that goes. For ARM, we're slowly uptrending right over here. We have resistance currently at 102. Breaking that would take us up to about 106.6. If we lose support at 100, look for a little dip right here, but I see potential for this to go a little bit higher. For Coinbase, Coinbase, in my personal opinion, has potential. I think that this could retest this high right here and fill this imbalance. We might dip a little bit. We could actually dip a little bit on Coinbase, retest 230, then bounce up for 240. So look for that move. For Amazon, we're trying to push right now, especially as we're approaching its earnings. If we hold above 180, look for this push towards just under 182. If we lose 180, look for 177.8, but I favor it's going to try to go up to about 182. For Meta, we're trying to slowly uptrend right now, and I think we could eventually go up to about 460 again. However, we're on a very, very slow uptrend. It might retrace towards about 430, was this 437, then start pushing higher. So watch and see if we get that break. For Microsoft, I think that this could dip a little bit. We might actually dip towards 404. If that fails, let's look for 400. 404 could be tested and look for a nice bounce and then push back up to 410. So look for a little dip towards 404. I think it's going to be dipping a little bit more, if not to 400. Then look for a bounce after that. Google pushed very hard after earnings, but then, after it dipped so hard, this ended up just making a big move to the downside. So with that happening and with this kind of like dipping a little bit after that, I just want to note that right here, our key Fibonacci retracement support at the 0.382 retracement is currently at 172. Then we have 168 below that at our 0.5 retracement. We have 176 as resistance. I think it's going to be testing these levels very nicely. I suspect that it might actually lose the support and actually dip a little bit more. So we could be looking for 168 for a little retest of that before it tries to bounce. So watch for that. The VIX is at support at 15. If we bounce off this, there's going to be a big move to about 16.5. If we lose that, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards this 12.9 area to fill that gap. So watch to see if that ends up being the case. If we dip back down to 12, at least the 12s, I mean, this would be because of the market potentially bouncing. Watch and see what the VIX does. That's going to be another confluence. We're at support right now on the VIX. We'll have to wait and see. But there is that gap to fill below, so we'll see if the market goes a little bit higher. The 10-year treasury yield, we're currently forming like a bearish divergence, and we have this gap to fill below. It could dip a little bit. I think it's going to retest 4.618, but that doesn't really matter much. What's going to affect this more is going to be Jerome Powell's speech. And the same thing can be said about the dollar. Right now, the dollar is at resistance at 106. If we lose this, we're going to be retracing to 105.84. We'll watch and see if we reject off this, because we're looking like we could reject, possibly, but we're at resistance, and we'll just have to give this some time. With that being said, guys, the market is still overall favoring the bulls a bit more, at least temporarily. The market could push higher, but this will also depend on a lot of different factors. Later on for the week, it depends on what Jerome Powell says, depends on earnings and such, so we'll just give it some time. With that being said, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the weekend. I took a very, very nice break, and I'm feeling amazing right now, so I'll be back to my normal schedule tomorrow. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you guys very, very soon after that. Thank you for listening, guys. Market to the moon, Tesla to the moon, because the long term is still very bright despite whatever we may see for the short term. And peace out.